Hi everyone, it's Darlene. I recorded this video just to show you what I did with the scraps from my other card. So I had 3 7/8 of an inch wide pieces that I took out of those cards. I'm going to take a piece of printer paper, it's actually some scratch paper, and I'm going to adhere all 3 of these. I wish I had covered them all with adhesive really thoroughly, and I'll show you why later. But anyway, so once I get these adhered to my printer paper, I'm going to go to the trimmer and I'm going to cut them vertically like I have it oriented right there. So in all these different pieces. Now, you're watching me design this in real time here. So I'm like, oh, I should have cut the white off before. So now I have to go and cut the white off of each one of these, which isn't too big of a deal. But now you see, because I didn't put enough adhesive, I have these areas where they're not sticking. So I just took a 2A glue pen and went between each of these different connections and put some glue and stuck them down. So that was pretty easy to do too. Now I knew I wanted to use that thank you sentiment again on some black cardstock. So I'm just going to use my MISTI, and I'm not sure how much of this black cardstock I'm going to use. I just make sure that I have my sentiment in kind of the middle part of it. I knew I'm going to be putting more at the top than the bottom, so I did put it further down on my cardstock. So anyway, once I get that heat embossed, I'm going to start arranging my pieces here. And I'm just going to put 1 strip on the bottom, and then I'm going to put 3 on the top. And you can see I'm trying to figure out the best way to line these up. And I determined that diagonal sequencing. So I have the blue kind of the lower left, and then second in, and then third in as I move my pieces up, just so there is a definite pattern to this whole thing. Now I could fit 5 of these across, but the 5th one just hangs off a tiny little bit, and I'm just gonna take that off later. So I'm gonna line this up as best I can, and then for the next 2, obviously I have 3 strips, 3 in a strip here, so I'm just gonna put some adhesive on the first 2. Again, this is designing on the fly here, and then I already glued that down, so it's not that big of a deal. I just cut it. I took a scissor. I was going to rip it, but then it wasn't coming off. So I just took a scissor and I clipped off that 3rd one. And I'll save that 3rd one for another row, because you can see some of them are missing at the top. So just line that up, and then start working on the next 3 rows up there. And you can see now I just need that single pink one. So I'm going to adhere that to the top, kind of eyeballing where it needs to be. So I'm not being very exact with this card. Now, normally when I design something, I design it on my own and then I record it. So I fix all the mistakes and the efficiencies and make it much easier to do. So here you're seeing kind of how I do it when I don't really have a plan ahead of time. So anyway, I've sped this up a little bit so that we can kind of whiz through doing all this. And I also tried to balance where the black centers of the flowers were, so that I have a little bit of black on each row. And so that big black mark in the middle, I put that in the middle so it wouldn't be right up against the black cardstock. Now I have all my rows adhered. I'm just going to trim off the back with a scissor. Nice and easy on both sides. And then the next step is to figure out how much black I actually want on this card. So I decided there was about a 1/2 inch at the bottom, and I was going to make a 1/2 inch at the top and see how that looked. So I marked a 1/2 inch and I trimmed it out, and now I'm looking at it on my card base, and I'm kind of thinking that it's too much black. So I want to reduce the amount of black on the top and the bottom, because otherwise my sentiment's getting a little washed out. So I trimmed the top and the bottom borders down to 1/4 inch instead of a 1/2 inch. And now I'm trying to figure out, do I want it in the middle or do I want it further down? And I decided for something different, I'm going to put it a little further down, so south of center. And so I'm going to adhere that. And I wanted to frame, I don't really like having, it's uncomfortable for me to have white on the edges. So that's why I always add those black lines. I'm just going to add a black line to the bottom, and then I'll add a black line to the top. This is about 1/8 of an inch in. And then I'll take a look at that, and then I determine, you know what, there's more space at the top. I'm just going to add another black line at the top, the same distance away, so about 1/8 of an inch, just for something interesting, another little detail. And then I decided that I was going to be finished. So I like this little mosaic of the different pieces. I think it was a nice way to use the scraps. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you next time. Thanks for watching.